Hello everyone and welcome back to the Pogchamps Championship. This is the final match and this is the final game. So this is game 3, the tiebreaker, as Voyboy lost in game 1. He had a good game, but then in a very difficult position he blundered his queen and Hutch won game 1. But then Voyboy quickly retaliated in game 2. I think it was like a really short game, maybe some 16 moves. He won a piece and then Hutch just resigned. And now this is game 3. So really an intense game. So I do hope you enjoyed it. And they are, well, very close rating wise. I think Voyboy is almost 1600 and Hutch is almost 1500, I believe. But that's as this is only rapid, so they might be rated differently in Blitz and so on. So without further ado, let's check it out. And yeah, also I would just like to congratulate everyone who played the arena yesterday. Here we will just announce the winners of the arena. There you have it. For the Meadow Arena, Love You Meadow won the tournament, followed by Unrated Boss and Bouvet King. And the top 10 are Chess Hater, Luis Soletti, Kalosh 3K, Buzomadi, Shiva Manipatil, Bet Player is playing, and Chess World 1612. So congratulations guys on playing and winning. And also the winners of the AGADMATOR Friday Arena are FIDE Master Blank 37 in first place. Second place is Physic is Good, and third place Yozarov. Next we have Yupo 6110, Jonas MB, FIDE Master Super GM1, Casisiete, Column 2007, Arthur 23, and Sidat AKM 29. So congratulations guys. And also for those of you who might have missed it, in the stream I was joined by Temur Rajabov, who also helped me commentate on some of the games, and we also had a lot of fun. So do check it out if you missed it, and also do check out Rajabov's channel. He also created a YouTube channel where he is currently analyzing some of his own games. So do check it out. It will be the first link you see in the description below. Now getting back to the game, Voyboy with the white pieces opens with e4, and Hutch goes for c5. He goes for the Sicilian defense. Knight to f3, we have knight to c6, and now d4, just striking in the center. We have captures, and now e6. Hutch goes for the Taimanov variation of the Sicilian. We have knight to c3 and bishop to c5 now. Queen to c7 is the main move here. Bishop to c5 is somewhat rarer, but also played. So knight d to b5, going for knight to d6 check, and Hutch even makes it happen. So knight checks, bishop captures, and queen captures. And now the queen is somewhat preventing black from successfully developing, but you could go for something like queen to e7, maybe try and force a queen trade like this. However, Hutch is not in a hurry. He goes knight g to e7, and now bishop to d3. Voyboy just continues development. We have castles by both sides, castles, and now there is one game in the database where knight to g6 was played, but here we have b5 by Hutch, and it is as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. Hutch now wants to play bishop b7, get the rook to c8, maybe queen to c7, kick away the white queen from there, and hopefully get some d5 in. So here Voyboy goes back immediately with queen to g3. Now with the idea that maybe he can go something like bishop to h6, maybe create some checkmating chances against the black king. So Hutch plays knight to g6, not allowing this, and also if e5 is played, you also block the light square bishop. So rook to e1. Also f4, f5 could be an idea here for Voyboy, or maybe just for the moment you don't have h4 since the queen and the knight are covering that, but f4, f5 might be an idea. So here instead rook to e1, Voyboy keeps it calm, not rushing with anything, as he did blunder his queen in game 1. He doesn't want to do anything rash. We have knight c to e5, now putting pressure on the bishop here, and Voyboy now develops with a double attack here. Now, while you could capture here on f4, Hutch decides to go back, so just knight to c6. And Voyboy now goes e5. He opens up his light square bishop, and he kind of prevents d6 or d5, since you could just capture here, and the queen and the bishop are nicely supporting that pawn on d6. So here Hutch decides to remove the bishop from f4. We have knight captures, queen captures, and now comes the moment where the magic happens, or where the magic should have happened. Hutch plays knight to e7. He now wants to shift the other side, the other knight over to the king side with knight to g6 to again block Voyboy's light square bishop. However, this is a terrible blunder that loses the game on the spot. So feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Voyboy while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the double attack. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's queen to e4. Now, this is just terrible for black. There's the checkmate threat, and also the rook on a8 is hanging, and there is no defense. You have to defend checkmate, and then you just gobble up a full rook. However, Voyboy missed this. He went for rook to e3. He just wants to get another rook into the attack and just go after the black king. And now knight to g6. Now this idea is no longer possible since the knight now blocks your access to the h7 pawn. The queen is under attack, so Voyboy goes back, queen g3, and now finally queen to c7. Hutch develops the queen, will bring the bishop to b7, and so on. We have rook 8 to e1. Voyboy now doubles up on the e file, adds another protector to the e5 pawn, and now finally bishop to b7. And now, well, you could consider something like h4, h5, since the queen no longer guards the h4 square. Voyboy first gets rid of black's strong light square bishop with bishop to e4. Hutch continues development, rook 8 to c8, and the Voyboy trades now. We have bishop captures, queen captures, and now rook to f3, getting another knight into the game. The rook into the attack. And now rook to c5. Hutch goes after the e5 pawn. You could go for something like b4, kick away the knight, and then just pick up the c2 pawn. However, Hutch wants to go after the e5 pawn instead, with queen to c7 to add a third attacker to the pawn. And now Voyboy finally tries to dislodge the knight with h4. And now, well, you could play h5 to stop the pawn from reaching h5. Hutch just continues his attack against the e5 pawn. So queen to c7, going after the e5 pawn. And now Voyboy has to defend it, as this pawn is really preventing black from further developing with d6 or d5. So rook back to e3. Now again, the pawn is defended 3 times, and now knight back to e7. Here Hutch is threatening knight to f5 to go after the queen and the rook, and Voyboy now doesn't react to this, rather he continues with h5. He wants to play h6 and checkmate the black king. But now Hutch goes for it, knight to f5, and now there's a nice fork here. Voyboy moves the queen, and Hutch picks up the rook, so he wins the exchange. Knight captures, we have queen captures, and now Voyboy is down the exchange. However, he's still hoping for queen g5, h6, let's say queen to g7 checkmate, but Hutch prevents this by playing h6, preventing queen to g3, and this pawn can no longer reach h6. So here we have rook to d1. Now again, keeping an eye on this square, not allowing any d5 ideas. And now rook to c8. Again, you could go for b4 and rook captures, but Hutch prefers to prepare this. And also Hutch knows that Voyboy is preparing rook d4 to g4, and he also wants to block it with rook to c4. And this is what Voyboy goes for, rook to d4. We have rook to c4, and now Voyboy trades here. Rook captures on c4. We have queen captures on c4. And now queen to a7, going for a double attack here, attacking both of the pawns, but Hutch defends them with queen to c6. We have queen back to e3 by Voyboy, and now d6, finally getting this freeing move in, and now you don't really have much options. We have captures, and now g3, making some breathing room for the king, planning king to g2 to get the king to maybe a little bit of a safer square. So rook to c4, a very nice active square for the rook, grabbing hold of the 4th rank, and Voyboy goes king to g2. We have queen to c7 now, finally preparing this b4 idea to pick off the c2 pawn, and now a3, preventing b4, but a5, there is no way to stop b4. So king back to f1, and now finally Hutch goes for it, b4. We have a captures, and now knight to e4, but now just rook captures on c2. Here Voyboy goes queen to b3 to defend his b2 pawn and also attack the rook. However, Hutch just says, okay, I'm up the exchange, there's no point in dragging this on, I'm just gonna trade queens. Queen to c4 with check, captures, and captures. And here you are now up the exchange, and it's very, very likely that you will also win the b2 pawn. So here Voyboy goes knight to d2, but just rook to c2, now with a double attack here. King e2, Voyboy defends the knight, but now rook captures on b2. We have king to d3, Voyboy now wants to somehow get rid of this pawn, and f6 now, preparing e5 and also preparing to bring the king into the game, which is definitely the way to go when you're in an endgame. So f3, Voyboy now wants to move his knight, and he doesn't want to lose the f2 pawn, but now king f7. We have knight to e4, And now Hutch goes for rook to b3 check. You could also maybe try and hang on to this pawn, but he prefers to give up this pawn and go after the kingside pawns. So king c4, and now he gobbles up on f3. Rook captures, and now Voyboy captures on b4. We have rook to e3, getting rid of the defender of the g3 pawn. Very well played by Hutch. And now knight to d6 check. We have king e7, knight to c8 check by Voyboy, king d7, and now knight to b6 with check. We have king to c6, and now as there are no more checks, knight to c4. But now rook to e4. Here you could go for the pawn here, but Hutch now shows that he is a great student of the endgame, and he just plays rook to e4. He knows that if he captures the knight, then the pawn and the king and pawn endgame is winning for black, as you are up 2 pawns. And Voyboy is without a move here. So king c3, we have rook captures on c4, king captures on c4, and now just e5. And this is now, of course, a winning endgame for black. However, they are both extremely low on time, and when I say extremely low, I mean Voyboy has some 30 seconds on the clock and Hutch is below 10 seconds. So this is if you want to win this with black, you have to go into all-out pre-move mode. So Voyboy continues, king d3. He wants to get his king over, try and gobble up these pawns and just win. And here we have king to d6 by Hutch. King d5 is a little bit stronger as it prevents king e4. But okay, king d6, it's still completely winning for black. King e4, we have king to c5 now, a bit of a, going up the hill here. King f5, and now king to d4. We have king to g6, and now e4. Now Hutch just starts pushing his passed pawn. We have king captures on g7, but now e3. Voyboy captures on h6. We have e2, and now king to g6. We have e1 queen, and now Hutch brings a queen into the game, and Voyboy also starts pushing his passed pawn. So queen to e7, and here Voyboy played h7. And it was in this position that the mighty Hutch lost the game on time, as it was in this position that his clock ran out and Voyboy wins the game, and he also wins the Pogchamps championship. So there's a lesson to be learned here. Of course, always play the best moves. However, if you have to spend too much time on finding the best moves, maybe it's not always the best way to go. But you know, as they say, it's always better to lose on time than by playing a bad move. And here, it could have been anyone's game, because in that position where Voyboy could have gone for that brilliant queen to e4 move here after Hutch played knight to e7, queen to e4 just wins the game on the spot for Voyboy. But after missing this, it was definitely all Hutch. However, Voyboy was faster. He ended the game, I believe he still had like 30 seconds on the clock, so he was much faster in moving, and he won the game. And yeah, always be mindful of your clock, because it's not, a lot of people say, okay, I lost on time, my opponent flagged me. Yes, but you spent way too much time trying to find the best moves, and your opponent was able to find decent moves in less time. And yeah, that also is taken into account. And since this is a game without an increment, it does it does make sense to make your moves a little bit faster. So this is what happens here. Of course, black is still completely winning with queen f8. You block the queening square, also guard your f6 pawn. You can just bring the king in, gobble up this pawn, and this is winning however you want to play it. However, if you don't have any more time to play, then of course you can't win. So yeah, Voyboy wins the game 3, and which was very impressive, as he lost game 1 by blundering the queen. He bounced back really nicely in game 2 and then won game 3 on time, so definitely deserving of the win. And here is the brackets, championship bracket, and also the consolation bracket from chess.com. So you can see who defeated who went into the semifinals, who went into the finals. And yeah, Charlie, also known as Moist Critical, he won the consolation championship, which is for those who were kicked out of the main event. So that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it and that you've enjoyed this short coverage of the Pogchamps. We are continuing today. The Chessable Masters starts today, so we are going to enjoy some top level chess again, and we'll just take it from there. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I would like to thank Benalaci Benzara Tahar, Michael Vaugin, Simona Splunge, Alexandre Pereira, and Robert Krechmar for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphe saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Like we said, the Chessable Masters start today. So thank you all, and I will see you soon.